Welcome, everyone, to the January 13 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Would like to call the meeting to order. All right, thank you, and welcome to all our commission members who made it out tonight. And welcome to city staff. It's nice to see you all, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, let's move on through this. Okay, so citizens communication. There was no one here, so we will continue on to item number C, approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the November 11, 2024 minutes? And do I have any comments or changes?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion is made. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes. All right, turn the meeting over to our Parks and Rec Director, Ms. Lisa.
Hello again. Happy New Year, Chair, Board Commissioners. I'm so glad to see you all today. We are kicking off 2025. Can't believe it. Not quite a year for me yet, a couple more months, but I have thoroughly enjoyed learning so much in this first year. So today I'm just going to highlight a few things that are going on in our department. Today will be some division updates. We'll talk about special events, vacancies, upcoming city council presentations, as well as staff development and capital improvement projects. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about golf. Out of a total of 225 members committed to joining us this year, 142 already have renewed their memberships, and we are expecting a slower usage due to the seasonal weather changes through the 21st, but we are on target. This is around the same number that we typically have this time of year. Once they feel the weather warm up a little bit, those memberships will roll back in. Wanted to highlight a little bit about the park staff and what we've been busy doing. We held a meeting just recently with a vendor, a kayak service company this past week, and they offer daytime and nighttime rentals. And we are expecting to have a contract started by Memorial Day weekend. So we're happy to report that. I know that is a very, very exciting time for us to bring that back. For recreation, I wanted to share a little bit about what happened this past weekend. On the 10th, the recreation team joined Ray Fitch, who is a hunt master, and we had our second annual youth hunt. We had 5 participants. Elijah Ramos, our recreation coordinator, as well as Stephen Gallagher were on site. And we gave out swag gifts, and they're given to the young hunters and their families, and that included hats, water bottles, and pocket knives. And this is located in partnership with the Port of Victoria. So we have some great pictures that you can check online, and we do that normally twice a year, one time in November, and we also do that in our January. Also for sport tourism, because that is a part of our recreation. Don't want to miss out on that. We want to highlight what's starting to kick off this weekend, and that is the Texas Amateur Athletic Association Games. So that is the TAF Games. We hold them in January and also in February. And so I just wanted to share the order of events that are taking place for the month of January. So swimming gets kicked off at the VISD Aquatic Center. Disc golf begins right after that at Riverside Park. We also have wheelchair basketball, and that's going to be at East High School. I'm going to have a lot of fun keeping score. I'm not playing this time. I'm going to keep score. Also, we have the thank you celebration that happens at Bird Dogs, and that's Bar and Grill. It's about 50 people so we ask that you please come join us. There are still volunteer opportunities available, so feel free to reach out to us should you be interested.
Lisa, so where is that schedule you just told us about published somewhere on the city website or at the park's website?
Yes, there's an actual website for TAF, and I believe it's taf.org.
Yes, either to the TAF.org site, or otherwise you got the Winter Game of Texas, so WGOT 2025, and you can get that.
Great, thank you.
And I'll highlight a little bit more about the community center as we go through the slides for the division updates. Those are included in our vacancies. As you can see here, we have several special events that are coming up in no particular order. We wanted to highlight and put on your calendar some of our very impressive events that we host, particularly at the golf course. This is the American Junior Golf Association, huge event, and that's April 3rd through the 6th. We also have coming up in February, and hopefully all of you and all you residents out there are signing up for our American Heart Walk. It's February the 1st in Riverside Park, and there's information online to help you get squared away. And of course, this is an exciting time. Every year, the Livestock Show is coming to the Community Center. And that's February the 14th through March the 3rd. You can see the picture here, what to expect. And we are looking forward to establishing just that ongoing relationship with this particular group, and a month long full of activities. And that will also be promoted through our city website as well as other channels. Here's more about the TAF. As you can see, here's the wheelchair basketball. Just wanted to point out again, there are 2 weekends, and that's this coming weekend, the 18th and the 19th, as well as February the 15th and 16th. I thought it was a good time to really point out some of the key vacancies we have in our department. We have obviously support with our HR department in the city to always really promote our employees to promote. So several of our vacancies are just as a result of that they've gone on to bigger, different things. And so our sport, tourism, and recreation supervisor position is open and available for anyone that is interested. That is a great position that is housed in our Parks and Recreation department. And it is just like it sounds. It is a managerial position, but it does deal closely with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they highlight host events that come to our city. The community center supervisor is a high-profile position that we wanted to share with the public. That particular position deals with a lot of rental reservations, things of that sort, year-round events. And so we're looking for a well-organized, efficient team player to join our team on 2 accounts. So we wanted to highlight those. Check out our city website for any job openings, and we'll be happy to see how you can fit in with the city of Victoria. We also wanted to share a little bit about the upcoming city council presentations that we should all have an eye out for. Our city is actively working on a number of different projects, one of which is the adult sports complex, the renovations, and you will hear more about that in the coming months. And so I wanted to make sure that we highlight those. Also, our Tree City USA ordinance. This is the next step in our process now that we have decided to become a dual board, serve as a tree board as well as a advisory commission board as well. Our parks wayfinding signs. So we have taken a lot of time to work with a consultant to update our current signage at all of our parks. And so we've been excited to really delve into the design concepts for these. And so you will have a presentation that we'll be showing in front of City Council in the coming months that will kind of get a consensus about what everyone's aesthetic pleasure is for our parks, whether that's an arch or pillars. We want to really bring home the branding efforts that the City of Victoria is doing, especially with our communications department as well. And then also we have our annual report. Just recently with City Council in the last session, there was the library as well as communications that highlighted their entire department, showing statistical facts about social media reach, participation numbers. And so we'll be doing the same, and ours is coming up in March. So we have some time to prepare and really get to showcase all the efforts that this board as well as our team has really done in the past year and where we're headed. I didn't want to miss out on sharing some of the short-term goals and the long-term objectives that were shared with Council in December. In December, we wanted to really take time to highlight all of our boards, all of our commissions, all of the members and what they do. And these were some of the short-term goals and objectives that we shared with City Council for this particular board. And I think this does embody all the efforts that we are trying to put forward. And so I just wanted to put those up here. They stay true to what we discussed in our workshop. They stay true to what we discuss here every time we meet. And so as you can see, we will continue to oversee the successful implementation of the master plan. Those are our priorities, and that is our guiding doc, as well as holding our workshop every year, and also, again, applying for the Tree City USA designation. All of these branding efforts really shed light to what the City of Victoria is all about, enhancing livability. And our long-term objectives, our team and I are working closely together with weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings, monthly meetings, to just stay on top of where we're headed. You know, we called our workshop Victoria P&R, ahead of the curve, and we're still sticking with that. We do what we do because we care. So I just wanted to highlight that. Next, I'm gonna pass it to Stephen Gallagher, our Assistant Director, and he's gonna talk a little bit more about our staff development.
Let me ask real quick, do we have any questions from the commissioners? She just went over quite a bit of information.
Sure,
Are there any questions? Okay,
awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Madam Chair and Park Commission. How y'all doing tonight? Happy New Year.
Fine, thank you.
Wanted to touch base on a few training here in 2025 to kick our year off here. So you see on your screen, Rolando is going to be kicking us off. He's going to his annual Professional Golf and Association Conference in Florida this month here in January. So he'll be gone for a week and learning those skills that are in the industry and the leading efforts for golf and maintenance for golf course, as well as other professional development for clubhouse and staff. So very excited for him to get that training opportunity. Later this week, me and Lisa will be traveling up to our TRAPS East Regional. So our state society, the Texas Recreation and Park Society, you can go to the traps.org website and see the interaction with our entire state entity and our peers and colleagues. We have about 1,200 active members in the state. And so each zone is set up differently, and Victoria fits into the East region, but we can also, which is the Houston area, but we can also get up into San Antonio or Austin or down into Corpus with the South and the Central. But this month, the East region is hosting on Thursday a day-long conference for our peers. There's about 85 to 100 peers and colleagues for directors and assistant directors or superintendents that will gather and do workshops and have a lunch and some special guest speakers to talk about today's industry topics in that. And then we're also getting ready every annual year. They host a conference. This one's going to be in Allen, Texas at the end of February. And that annual conference, again, will bring together those peers and have a week-long class and session to go over the industry and the market in maintenance to recreation programming and special events. There's a state maintenance rodeo, so we'll be cheering on our peers and colleagues. They do lawnmower drills and backpack drills, truck driving skills, and they earn points and competition and stuff. So it's a lot of camaraderie and a good way to build team morale that will use those skills and try to offer ourselves that competition to try to bring it here to Victoria. Eventually, we would like to get involved with the East region or South and Central to host our own regional monthly conferences or quarterly or biannual conferences. So we're really stepping into that and going and listening and learning, observing, and being engaged with our peers to help continue to grow Victoria and put them on a map as the educational place to go with best practices for our park department as well. So these two here are very important to stay engaged with, and they'll tie in as well with our National Recreation Association conference that we go to in the fall. And then another staff training that's coming up in the February timeframe, as well as it's a vector training. It's through the Texas Department of Agriculture. And so we'll have 10 employees that will be here locally. It's done at one of the county training centers, usually over at the airport. But they'll be learning and doing 5 hours of training on getting ready for this year's mosquito season. And so we don't want to use that word, but as you know, we do get mosquitoes in South Texas, and so we have to be prepared for that. And so continuing education and development of our team and preparing them for best practices is very important to us to continue to show the community that we're attacking that vector menace very vigorously. So definitely we'll take advantage of those trainings that come out for that. Next slide. Okay, capital improvements. So we've been talking most of the last few months on the progress of Ethel Tracy restroom. We got a couple meetings this week to continue to get our water services and our electrical connected. And here in the next 7 to 10 days, you should start to see some temporary fencing going up to put in the bathroom at Ethel Tracy. So here we are in January, and we're pretty much right on schedule with that project. So right between the splash pad and the playground over there and in front of the basketball court, you will see the facility go in place and start the groundbreaking and connecting your electrical, water, and sewer. And then in the mid-February, the building will be shipped here and craned in. So that'll be quite the sight to see that get offloaded off a truck and then get put into the pad and on the construction and stuff. So here we are ready to go. And over the next 6 weeks, you'll start to really see that take hold and see that take shape and form and really bring a nice amenity into the park as our master plans asked for, as the residents have asked for. We're seeing that project come to fruition. So very excited for Ethel Tracy restroom. Another project that we were able to work on last budget season was with the Community Development Block Grant. And so each year we can go and look at neighborhood parks that qualify for funding and grants. And last year we put in for Brownson, Meadow Lane, and Pine Street to get some grant, and we got awarded $95,000. So one of the things for those parks that was asked was over at Brownson Park, where we put the new playground, was to provide a walking trail in there. And there's enough room to do about 1,000-foot trail in there. And so that block grant will help fund that, so we don't have to find other funding sources for that. But as well as at the Brownson Park, that's one of the neighborhood parks that didn't get any type of solar lighting. If you recall it, like Will Rogers or Queen City and Pine Street, we got 2 or 3 different types of solar lighting to put up to make the park a little bit safer, either at night or just to provide the play in the little bit darker hours, especially in the winter months. And so you'll see that to where Brownson as well as Meadow Lane do not have the solar lights. Pine Street has 3 solar lights right now, but we do have some funding within that block grant to look at modifying lighting as well, because we're also looking at our future current budget general funds that show to put in a playground at Pine Street. And so any funding that's extra that's needed from that block grant will help the lights that are currently there at Pine Street, as well as looking at adding additional lights. It is a big 2-acre park, so 3 solar lights, even how they are, could be added. So that's very helpful for that. And then this spring, we'll consider other future neighborhood restoration areas that then we can apply for. And then get next fall, they'll announce that we get those grant funds to help improve those parks as well as needed.
So those grants are going to mostly be used for lighting and then the walkway at
Correct.
At
So
Bronson?
Each year we go and ask with the urban development what we can and look at what we can look at what might be able to be funded there, from playground equipment to support, whether it's fencing, sidewalks, lighting, or whatnot, trees and stuff. And so those were the selected projects that were there as well. So for example, we already had general funding for the main structure of the playground at Pine Street that was already authorized and was going to go into the budget. The same thing as we look in the future budgets for like Meadow Lane, we're looking at some grants for Meadow Lane as well as just regular general funding, because that's another neighborhood park that would need the most enhancement with the playground at that park there. And so all these resources that we can find to help support the need, maybe relieve pressure on the general fund by using grant funding, we do look at that holistically and with all of our department friends here in the city to try to find the best resources for funding for that. So one of that, bringing that to the next topic, good segue there, was over at Ted B. Reed Park, is that currently, at the last council meeting, we talked about going out with the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant. So Ted B. Reed Park doesn't fit into the community block grant where we get funding and subsidy for low-income areas. So one of the things at Ted B. Reed Trail, we just did the park over there about 22, 23, the brand new playground, but there's so many different amenities there. And one of the biggest amenities that people like to use is the walking trail. And the walking trail right now is a crushed granite trail, goes between like 3 and 5 feet. It's about 3/10 of a mile, so maybe what is that, 3,000 some odd feet or so. But also between the fire station as well along the front road there on Salem, there's no sidewalk there. And then there's no crosswalk for the neighborhood to get across over into that. So that grant was just approved at council where I want to say the grant total estimated engineering costs and stuff and construction was around $360,000. The city's portion request would only be $60,000 because Texas Parks and they do walking trails and trail support for up to $300,000. And so there's a percentage that we have to match. And so it was adopted and approved so that as that goes forward later this spring, and then they'll come and say, okay, this is the year you can do it, we'll be able to enhance that trail to a 10-foot wide multi-use trail. And what that means at Ted B. Reed Park is for skateboards, your little scooters and bikes and just, roller skating, you can have a little bit more family activity time there on that trail as it's meant to be for multi-use, 10 feet, and then as well, connecting the sidewalk connectivity across the front of the frontage of the park there to get people to the dairy treat or to have people easier to cross where there's a more prevalent crosswalk. It's not something that is looking at where it'd be like lighted crosswalk like any of the others, but at least there'd be a known crosswalk there that they're looking at because a lot of folks come from the neighborhood across the way. So just another great idea and looking at how we can use grant funding to support a project that, how you would know to get it in a different queue might take a little bit longer. And to be able to use our grant writer with the city, it's very helpful to get these projects going, as well as the master plan asks us to find ways to improve the trails. So I would encourage to watch that from the last council meeting with Katie Conley giving that briefing. And the last capital and project improvement tonight is to kind of continue to show the walking path of the children's park and the splash pad, the new splash pad, as well as the modifications to the park. So this past summer, we did a request for proposal, and we got 11 different companies that applied. And so we were able to get one of the companies, and we're going to be doing a walkthrough of the park this month. And we're going to be going over the scope and setting the stages for these steps that we need to do with a statement of work, the improvements to whether it's parking lot, the restroom over there, the shelter, anything with the playground itself, and then as well as the splash pad. They'll be able to come back with cost estimates for us. We'll be able to show some designs and some concepts to both the commission and council. And then they'll start working on how they're going to fund that. There is some funding already from the Marcia Strengthen Foundation. And so we got a great kickstart to what that could be. And then it's just a matter on making a decision to where could both the projects be done in the same year for 26? We definitely, knowing that we got the funding and we want to start doing these construction documents in 25, we want to be shovel ready for 26. Could shovel ready be for just one entity of the splash pad and then do this, the children's park portion in the 27, or you just find a way to do it both at the same time? And these numbers, these consultations that we're going to have are going to show us that path, and that's going to help guide the conversation with finance and with city management to make the decisions to help show which way we want to go with that project. So that's going to be a huge conversation piece in the next 9 months to start having that footprint and those designs come together, and we'll be working hard to improve that entity for the community next. So those are the capital improvements for us.
Well, I just want to kind of piggyback what you said and say thank you for taking into consideration what we had talked about in the past couple of years of the walkability of the parks. And again, kudos for getting the grant funding to help pay for that. But it's awesome to see that y'all have taken those initiatives that we talked about and run with them. So great job.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Any questions for Stephen? Anybody? All right.
All right. Well, I know we had one green card that was here, so I didn't know, Chair, if you wanted to entertain that at this time.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. The first and last name I have here, I'm going to pass this to you.
All right. So we'll go ahead and close out item D, and we'll move into other business, but we'll also ask Mr. George. Oh, so could you, you have the floor for 3 minutes, I think?
Thank you. Good evening, Chairperson and members of the council. Sorry to drop in like this, but I was advised that this might be where to place this interest. My name is Dr. George Osuchukwu. I'm a practicing physician here in town. We moved to Victoria about 15 years ago. That's my wife, Claudia Amador. I'm a big proponent of youth sports, and I do coach the under-17 boys team. I've had them since they were 10. I've moved them up from the 3rd division of youth soccer in Victoria, Texas, and right now we're playing in the prime division of youth sports, youth soccer, which is the highest level of youth soccer in Texas. Most of those kids all attend high school. The boys I train, they make up almost 70% of the West high school soccer team and about 30% of the East soccer high school team. The reason why I'm here is because the biggest need for the youth soccer program in Victoria is lighted fields. Usually usually soccer has 2 seasons, the summer and the fall season. But because we play competitive soccer, we have to practice all year round if the kids are going to get better. During the fall months, it gets dark at about 5:30, and it's very difficult for us to practice. Right now, to host practice, we have to use portable lights at Riverside. Some of us have to use portable lights at Memorial. And I think a city the size of Victoria, I think, would really, really appreciate some lighted fields. In the past, we used to play by the airport. The city was kind enough to build the beautiful fields we have at Riverside. But during about 4 or 5 months of the year, when the days are so short, it's hard for the kids to practice. So I was advised that this might be the forum where I could get this addressed. And if I'm not in the right place, I would appreciate any guidance on how to go about this request.
Thank you so much. You're in the right place to make the request, and so I'd like to shoot it back to staff and see what are the thoughts and plans for any lighting on soccer fields. We know that's not the first time we've heard this, and we also know that soccer has definitely been on the increase and the rise in use, hence the fields that we built at Riverside or were built in conjunction. So, Lisa, thank you so much for taking the
Doctor.
time to come out.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your input.
It kind of breaks my heart because every time I drive by the community center, everything is lighted.
Yeah.
The baseball fields are lighted. Even the skate park that was built not even 2 years ago is lighted. But the soccer fields are the only part of the fields that are dark 24/7.
Well, I think that there's a opportunity there's planned multi-purpose /soccer fields at the new rendering of the community center.
That is
So
correct.
this would be a great time to, see if there is lighting in the master plan
That's
for that.
years
If not,
from
let's
now,
add it.
though.
Yeah, that's years from now.
Yeah, it's years from now. We
Well,
have
what I'm
an
saying, if we're
immediate
gonna plan new
need.
soccer fields, we should plan them with
Sure.
that input.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think it does go with the bigger picture as well, now and in the future. So I definitely will welcome any comments to our Parks and Recreation Department. We do have an email address as well. So any questions, concerns of that sort, this is the correct forum, as well as calling our 361-485-3200. We welcome your feedback. We certainly welcome the feedback of the residents because that's what we're here for. We're here to serve. So I will take the time to set up a scheduled time chair just so we can talk to those asks and see how they fit within the priorities and the mission and vision that we're headed towards. So thank you.
Yeah, so
Perhaps,
even.
perhaps there is, I mean, you guys have done such an excellent job in finding grant money.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something out there, I mean, for grant money.
Youth or
for youth.
activities, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely been researched. I think it's just a matter of just making sure we're on the same direction. Like you said, we know we got the community center, plan, the adult sports fields. One of the things was maybe trying to make them a flex field to where with lights, perhaps we can get away with goals on those when we talk with those talking points in the adult sports field, or if there are sports fields built with the new community center plan. But with the current fields, there was a while back some funding looked at. The hardest part is working in the floodway. The location may not necessarily be ideal with lights at that complex. It doesn't mean it's no, it's just that we'd have to continue research and see if that's in the long-term strategy to put lights in with that price point.
Are you talking about the Riverside Fields?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it seemed like even if we could just light, one or two fields, I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Is there a fee that the different youth sport leagues pay for practice facilities down there or is it just a free use kind of thing with the sports fields down in Riverside?
Sure, there is open play time, but we currently have a contract with VYSO. So that is a youth organization that we contract out with. I don't know if we had any additional add-ons, but besides that, that's the only entity that we work with currently there.
Yes, ma'am.
Was lighting considered when those fields were in concept phase and construction? Was lighting considered at the time of construction for those?
From my understanding in the position that I was in, I would just say that, yes, that the lighting was looked at, but I think just through a cost analysis in the floodplain, as well as future master plan additions to fields potentially at other parks, there's maybe opportunities in the future, like we talked about the community center or at the Lee Tracy or at Airline. There may be other places that might meet that need as well, but it's just trying to line them up in the long-term queue of those, plans over the next 3 to 8 years.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
So we're not going to give up, so don't give up.
Sure,
We'll-
sure.
But it is a cost consideration, and we all know how expensive lighting is, and we also know the challenges we face with our parks that are in flood zones. So there is that hindrance as well. But, we do have on the horizon, this, the community center complex. Not sure where that's going in '25, but I know it's coming back to council, right, in '25?
That is correct. So,
And soccer fields were a part of that.
Yes.
So, all right, so,
yes, ma'am, there is. And I know there's a special council meeting that will be aired, and I believe there's some discussion surrounding the community center master plan at that time, and that will be on tomorrow during the day. I think it's 2:00.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Wednesday. Thank you, sir. Wednesday. Got my days mixed up.
Okay.
Yes, so,
all right,
thank you.
thank you.
All right.
Okay, so we are still in item E, other business. Do any of the commissioners have any?
Discuss and vote on meeting
Oh, sorry, that's
schedule.
Lisa.
I'm back up.
Back up.
I had a question on the capital projects update is, where are we at with the talk? I know we've talked about it probably over the last 18 months with the old community center pad and the potential for a food truck park there. I know that we were looking at facilities and amenities, water, power, all that kind of stuff. So just wanted to see if we had an update on that.
No problem. I'll have Steve answer that.
Thanks.
Yes, and that could be also part of that great question on just the process of what that complex is going to look like, too, in the long-term future. So not only just enhancing the parking space at that community center parking, but even adding additional parking overall. So there was funding that was set aside, and it's still there to improve the parking. Right now, there's a determination with being in a floodplain as well as when you look at the need, because that's a huge area for soccer. There's no parking really available, and then they're parking on Red River as well as North Bluff. So all the locations, including the triangle that's over on North Bluff, as well as Red River, as well as that main parking lot. What is the right way to do it? Is it leveling that entire community center pad out even differently than what it was supposed to be for that? So they kind of took a step back to look at it a different approach, to look at all these things on what is soccer going to look like down there from now for the next 10, 15 years, and how to build the right parking. And so once we get that information, then we'll be able to come back and show the new plans. So the original plan is kind of on hold, where they were going to just kind of park and put trucks, to where that can just be leveled out across the board from Young Street all the way through to the parking lot, which would even add more parking at that time. You know, or do they keep that current plan and add parking in the triangle on the other side? Because even in the North Bluff and Red River area, there's 3 acres there that could potentially be a championship field with lights too. So the holistic approach of what a master plan would need for that field, to include doing the parking right the first time, any additions to fields, if they include lights or restrooms or whatever, we're taking a fresh approach on that.
So the food truck park is kind of in congruency with, I don't know if I just made that word up, but
Yeah. Yeah.
with all of the parking for the
Right.
soccer fields.
So
Okay.
just kind of took a step back to breathe a minute, pause, and then come back with a better, fresh approach on it, to make sure that it's holistically going to come together and be packaged for that end of the park in a way that would make the most amount of sense for a future of soccer there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Back to you, Lisa.
All right. So tonight I wanted to discuss about our board meeting schedule for no other reason other than making sure that we're bringing the information in real time to you, but still allowing time for development with my staff and getting those updates. My understanding from the past few years that the meeting has functioned on a monthly basis. It is the opinion of the board. We will go whatever route that you feel most comfortable with, but we were entertaining more of a quarterly approach. And the reason being for several reasons, one of which we are working with our team directly. There are a lot of projects that are happening. These are just a few. And so while we certainly want to keep the real-time communication happening, we also want to be very intentional about what communication we're bringing out there. These meetings that we have, we are working in conjunction with city council presentations as well. So we wanted to pose to the board, would it be of interest to put out a schedule that was on a quarterly basis versus a monthly basis? It's at the leisure of the board. Again, whatever discussion, we're prepared to go whatever route should you choose. We just want to make sure that we're giving you enough information to go off of because mostly from our month to month, there are things that change, but with our projects, they do take a little bit more time. So I'm just opening up the floor, thought it might be a good dialogue, and what better time to begin to set a precedent that maybe you may or may not have entertained going into the new year. So this is a great board. We're excited. We were first on deck to share about our commission for the public and city council, and so we set a high bar here. And so I want to be mindful with respect to your time and what you do outside of this board as well. Thanks. So I open the floor for any comments for that.
All right, well,
Thank
the
you.
first question I have before we get into dialogue, so given that we serve at the pleasure of the city council,
Yes.
and we have a set of bylaws, legally, and can we make that change, and how would that happen?
Sure. That is, I need to pull that up directly so I can answer that specifically. Let me pull the bylaws up.
All right, and while she's doing that, let's discussion, thoughts, pros, cons, moving to quarterly versus monthly.
I think it's a good idea.
Jessica, you got me too.
I think maybe cutting it from 3 meetings every 3 months to 1 meeting a month might be, like 4 meetings a year might not be enough to kind of keep going with all of the projects. I do think that we could probably cut it down to maybe once every other month. Give y'all more time to gather project updates and that sort of thing. I just worry if we cut it down to once every, or 4 times a year, like, are we going to be able to make any real progress on issues and things that pop up? That's kind of my 2 cents to it. But
I think we could always have a special meeting if we needed it.
Yeah. Kind of like the, maybe every other month or every even number, odd number month, but.
Look at Article 3. I have them right here. It
Thank
just
you, sir.
says regular meetings, just special meetings.
There we go.
Well, if it's in the bylaws, I know with being a parliamentarian for multiple organizations, that you have to propose it and then you have to read it 3 times, just like they do at city council, before you can pass it. So you're looking at 3 months in a row before you can even really come up with a decision.
I know one of the boards that I'm on does quarterly meetings, and we accomplish nothing.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
more, mean you accomplish nothing because you don't have enough information or there's not enough time?
It's because,
Okay, could you please use your mic, Mr. Fisk? Your microphone,
Your
please?
mic.
Thank you, sir.
Just talk, I think, just talk.
okay, because people lose track of what they're supposed to be doing between meetings. Right, so a lot of things don't get done, right, not intentionally, but you know, if you're going to meet again next month, then you have 4 weeks to do something. If you have
That's it.
12 weeks to do something, that sense of urgency disappears.
And also, I would think you forget. I mean, I'm always like, okay, what did we discuss last month? And so I want to keep up on our current projects and, I don't know. That's just me.
I agree, and I think, I mean, as long as I've been a member of this committee, and Laura, you've probably been the same, like, a lot of it comes to, you know, I see one of the ways that I function in this board is a lot of people kind of, you know, ask, you know, around the community of like, what's going on? You're kind of a mouthpiece to the community of the things that are going on. We're kind of the biggest cheerleaders for Parks and Rec up here. That's why we volunteer our time to come out and do this sort of thing. And so then having those more regular meetings, it allows you to go back out into the community and report to the other different various boards or organizations that we sit on of, hey, here's the, you know, stuff that's going on with, you know, the college. You know, I came from a Victoria College meeting right before here. So it's like, you know, getting that synergy between the two where, again, if we're only meeting, you know, every so often, it kind of goes to the back of your mind and you don't have the ability to talk about what's going on, all the cool things that Parks and Rec is doing, because y'all do so much amazing stuff for the community. And so us meeting regularly and hearing about all that stuff, it allows us to go out there and champion your causes and talk y'all up, so.
Gotcha. Understood.
Julie?
Well, and I was just thinking, because very often our meetings are really at like the 30-minute mark. I'm almost thinking the more regular, but keeping them shorter, or, you know, just like a quick check-in. I could see either way. When you said quarterly, I was like, oh, that might be nice. And I was also thinking like every other month. But I also think like what you're saying, just a monthly check-in, but keeping them on the shorter range. And then maybe if there's larger things that are going on, we already have the once-a-year workshop scheduled, so.
And so did I hear that right from you, John, that in the bylaws, it just says that we have to have regular meetings, right?
Correct.
I
So
don't
then-
see
Yeah.
anything specific.
We don't need to
There
amend
is- yeah.
anything to do that. We could just make a motion that we,
Right.
Meet.
It's definitely just a dialogue to see what the pleasure of the board is. So we can continue and we are prepared whatever direction, but certainly, yeah, there's nothing specifically that says about how many times we are deemed to meet.
I'm having an idea. It's almost a hybrid, and that is that we have regular meetings based upon the calendar year, but I know that there are certain months when staff is swamped with something, whatever, or there's a holiday, or it's the middle of summer and we have a hard time getting a quorum because of vacation or spring break or whatever. So I would ask staff to go back, look at the annual calendar, knowing that we want to have a workshop like we do every whatever.
Okay,
That's one
October.
meeting. And come back to us with saying, these are the meeting dates.
Okay,
Allowing yourself time for those things I just mentioned, like a summer break, or, whatever, those kind of things. So we're not gonna, so let's set a schedule based upon your need, vacation schedules, holiday schedules, et cetera, that work for us, on this same Monday. What do y'all think about that?
okay.
Good with that. I was kind
So
of,
maybe we're at 10 meetings a year, or maybe we're at 9 meetings a year, whatever the number is, but
Okay.
we don't lose the synergy or the forward motion that we're creating, on a month-to-month by going to a
Agree.
quarterly.
Okay.
The projects you guys just outlined for 25, and knowing what we're continuing to do with the master plan, I do think we've made such great inroads in progress. And I know from personal experience, people stop me on the street or at a party, they've watched this on television.
Wonderful.
And people are interested, and so to lose that momentum that we've worked so hard to get in the public eye, I would hate to see that go away. So maybe come back to us with a 9 or 10 month, or even an 8 month, I don't know what the number is, what it looks like. But I know we've canceled meetings because of different things, and so let's take a proactive approach.
Off the top of my head, we met, I know we didn't meet every month last year. I think there were, 8 meetings?
Roughly 8 to 10.
Yes,
8?
that was the research, yes. That sounds about right, yeah, yeah. Particularly, I know about the holiday time and things like that. So yeah, we appreciate being able to go back to the drawing board. And then we can also better prepare our discussion topics with you as well. So that would increase our planning effort so we know what to bring to you around the same sort of time. So that unpredictability was a good time to bring it up. So thank you. Thank you.
Also, I like hearing more about the golf course. I think it's interesting, and it's such a huge component of our Parks and Rec system. And so, one of these meetings in the future, maybe after the spring season starts, where it's, more appropriate, I'd like to hear a little bit more detail about golf course projects and how it's doing. I know that it's been, with its budget, it's been, paying for itself, but things like that are of interest, I think, or, pick topics, like you said, do a 12-month lookout.
Yep.
And what you're gonna do in these meetings coming forward, knowing what projects you have. I don't wanna give you more work,
You're good.
but
We just had a beautiful golf update and really highlighted the division itself. But, interestingly enough, one of the things I said, you're going to hear from me, but you can hear more from my team.
I think that's
right
great.
now.
I think that's great. I loved
Yes.
it when you brought them to the workshop. I
Yes.
thought that was really great.
Yes, so they know. I haven't made it official yet, but I think that they should be here with me. So we're working on that. And again, with the decision that we make once we bring those dates, I can plan with my team. They can mark their calendars and they can prepare to be here to present. So I think it's a win-win situation, again, for no other purpose other than just trying to gauge where we're at as a board and as we get to know each other with new members. So thank you for entertaining that. And heck yeah, we like to brag on ourselves every single month. We would totally do that. I mean, I saw Harley in the store. That was great. I never get to see anybody. So thank you for your time and thank you for your consideration.
All right. Good discussion. Okay, so now we're gonna move
You want
to,
to keep them? Go ahead. I've got another set in here.
I've got plenty. I just didn't bring it.
all right,
Thank you,
so
sir.
item E, other business. This is when, if any of the commission members have any new topics, old topics they'd like to bring, now's the time to bring them up. All right, go
I
ahead.
have some topics.
All right,
Okay,
topics.
my grandson is very involved in baseball. So I'm out at the Little League complex quite a bit during the whole year. Majority of these topics I have here, I gave to Mr. Gallagher, and he looked at them, and I also emailed them to him. One of the ones is to clean the nasty restrooms out there at the park, out there. They're nasty. They need to be at least washed down with a power hose and some Clorox. I mean, they're just nasty out there. The sinks, there's usually, I hate these sinks, which you walk up there and you got to move your hands around to get the water run. There's usually one sink a weekend, one faucet a weekend that works. And then in the paper towel, you have one paper towel holder and one hand dryer in there. That's it for the whole bathroom.
And
so-
you're referring basically to
The Little League complex.
Little League.
Youth complex, yep.
Okay.
Right. No. So you've got 12 fields out there, and on a weekend, there's 12 fields being used. So, you're going through a lot of people going in and out of the restrooms.
Families, yeah.
A lot of families and a lot of baseball players. Some of them wash their hands, some of them don't. You just never know. But I mean, you got one hand dryer and one thing of paper, and it doesn't take long for all that paper to be gone. And then so everybody's standing in line or walking out, wiping their hands on themselves. So we could do something about that. As far as other thing for the restrooms, I think we need to have porta potties out there at the fields itself. It's a long walk from the field to the restroom and the concession stand. So when these kids get through with the game, sometimes they may only have 15, 20 minutes in between a game. As for the parents who are out there to go from this field, walk all the way to the restroom, and then go back. You may stand in line for 20 to 30 minutes at the concession stand waiting to get something, and now the game's already started and you've missed an inning or two. And then if you have to, well, the restrooms, you're in and out, that's good. But, I mean, to wait there in the concession, and the concession stand there does a wonderful job. So if there's some place that we could maybe put some food trucks or possibly expand the concession stands, that they have them right there in the immediate area, just where they can maybe bring something from this concession stand over to here, like the burgers, the chips, the nachos and stuff like that, that sell real fast, and drinks. That's the big thing. You can stop me anytime if you want to ask me any questions. Also, the restrooms, if you've ever been out there in the summertime, it's like walking into a heat oven. There's no ventilation, nothing, so you walk in there, it reeks of smell, and so if there can be some ventilation in there to help, that would really help too. I don't know if you've ever been out there, but if you've noticed, there's sunflower seeds all over the place on the ground out there, because the kids just chew them. I never knew how to do that. I can't put a sunflower seed in my mouth, chew it and spit and get the hull out and leave the seed in my mouth. I could never do that. But these kids know how to do it. So you've got sunflower seed hulls all over the ground. And birds don't eat those. They don't eat the hulls. So, I mean, they're just all over the stands, all over the sidewalk and everything.
So what do you think? Don't serve sunflower seeds or?
No, well, the kids bring their own in. Plus, they serve them, you can buy them there at the concession stand.
So.
And adults
what's the
eat 'em too.
What's the
Well, if
idea,
you could get
maybe?
out there with a power hose and just wash them out, that would be great.
Okay.
And they're up in the stands, like if I go to a game on Saturday and I'm sitting here and I pick up all my stuff, but this person she was sitting there next to me and she was eating sunflower seeds, and all of her sunflower seeds are right there in the stands. They're still there the next day, and possibly they're even there the next week. They don't clean the stands. I mean, there's gum and everything on the seating stands out there. They're filthy too. So, you get out there with a power hose, once a week, clean them. That'd be great. Fixing the scoreboards. Like I said, there's 12 fields out there, and probably about 4, maybe 5 of the scoreboards actually work. And out of those 4 or 5, maybe 2 or 3 of them have all the lights that work. So, we need to do that. And the fields are very outdated. We need to come up with a lot better fields. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, if I may, thank you again for these great comments. These are great team building things that we have worked with the staff in off season to work on updating for the 25 season. And we'll continue as we get ready for these tournaments in VSID in the next 2 to 3 weeks to recircle back at these questions, but some have been addressed. And one of the things I didn't include in the capital improvement update, but the recollection is with the scoreboards, we're able in the current budget to fund and budget for 4 scoreboards. Actually, I'm sorry, 5. We budgeted for 4, but based on the cost, we got 5 because of the pricing came out really great. And so the 4 scoreboards that will be replaced are on fields 1 through 4 and number 7. Number 7's been the important one for 3 years. The scoreboards that are coming down, they're going to take the good numbers and the LED buttons out of them and put them in fields 6 and 8, which are the next worst boards. So those projects, they were ordered during the Christmas break, and so they're being built, and they're expected to be shipped here mid-February and be installed by the end of February with the contractor. So by Little League season, by mid-March, we'll be up and running to that next step of boards at a better capacity that's being asked. So thank you again for that reminder.
Okay. This was an idea I came up when I talked to a few people, and they said, that wouldn't be bad, that you charge $1 per vehicle that comes in there to watch. And this money would go toward fixing the scoreboards. you know, you, on a weekend, like, you know, my grandson not only plays Little League, but he also plays travel ball. And you had, so these fields are being used almost every weekend of every month.
Yes, sir.
And
Matt,
so,
sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
so I mean, like I said, if you could have somebody out there say, okay, it'll be $1 for a car. I mean, 50 people in the car, it doesn't matter. It's $1 per vehicle. Because if you go out there, that parking lot is full, and it says, don't park on the grass, you would be surprised how many cars and trucks are parked on the grass.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, you know, just $1 a car, I mean, in a weekend, you probably make $6,000 or $7,000. So I mean, there's a scoreboard right there. You know, and like I said, this is every weekend, because some of these games are Fridays, these travel teams are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday tournaments. And not only is it for the Little League and travel teams, but then you've got the girls softball complex and the girls high school and college team out there too. So I don't know who takes care of those, but all this money that's going to be generated would go to fix all the scoreboards and on all the fields.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
And one last thing, then I'm through. I'm sorry. And I talked to Mr. Gallagher about this during Veterans Day, which I was in charge of the parade, and thank you all for attending. It was a wonderful parade. I went to use the restroom over here in De Leon Plaza. There too, one faucet works in the restroom, and there's only one hand dryer. There's no towels, but there's one hand dryer in there. You know, somebody didn't do a very good job of saying, hey, this is how this bathroom needs to work. I'm through.
Do y'all take care of that, or is there a contractor that does that?
So the Main Street program has 2 staff members that maintain the restroom down there, and then we do about 20% on the weekends, the plaza, so it's a shared entity. But we'll work with our city team members and take a look if there's still questions. I'm not sure we have several events down there since that time, so I'm not sure.
It may have been
but
fixed, but I mean,
we'll
during that
take a look at
weekend,
that.
that week that I was there in November, that was kind of like, oh, okay.
Sure.
But the amount of money that we spent, and you can only have one faucet work and one hand dryer, I said, Okay, no, thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you for those comments as well. I did want to add just a couple of notes. I really appreciate the perspective from the user perspective. The user experience is very important to us. And so we constantly are doing walkthroughs. So, I mean, obviously from the community, we get pictures, we get comments. And so those are not things that we look at in a negative light. It's a very positive thing. That's a learning tool for our team. We are emphasizing very much the maintenance standards. That's across the board. Because we're getting these new facilities, we want to take care of what we have. In regards to the parking that you mentioned about revenue generating opportunities, our master plan discussion that we had with City Council entertained a number of things surrounding tournaments. And I will tell you, one of the proposed that we had brought in were gate fees and collecting a percentage of that. We certainly understand the traffic flow there. So I agree with you that there is, one step at a time. We'll look at those parameters and entertain those. And I think we are going to benefit well from that. That relationship is not going anywhere. So thank you for that. In addition to that, we also have posed for the tournament play, a deposit. Those are things that we really needed to bring forward going into very high time. Steve has been working very, very hard with the absence of a sport tourism director. He has stepped into that role. So we've seen firsthand the number of individuals that we're dealing with, all the coaches. And so while they stand to make tons of money, we also need to be able to support the resources we need for keeping high maintenance standards. So trust us in that we talk with our team weekly. We make sure that we are checking and inspecting what we expect from our team.
Well, I know like on weekends when the swing team plays, they charge $5 a person. I think it's like $3 for youth. So, I mean, they're bringing in money to themselves, but that money doesn't, I don't know if that money goes anywhere else except, for their organization. Little League doesn't charge you anything. I mean, you just walk onto, one of the things I really appreciate too that y'all have done, y'all labeled the fields. That is so wonderful. So I can remember walking out there, okay, they're on field 9, and you would walk up to this little map and you're going,
Where am
you,
I?
okay, you
Yes.
are, where am I at here? And it was like, you start walking and then
Like
my
you said, if
somebody
you go
else,
the wrong
"Dad,
way,
we're
it's a
way over
15-minute
here."
walk back the
Yeah,
other
then you gotta
way.
walk
Yes.
all the way over, you go all the way over here to this field and you look, oh, they're not on any of these 3 fields. And then my son would call me, Dad, come back up and turn to the right and walk all the way down there. That's where, so now you gotta walk all the way up to the concession stand, then all the way back over there. And now that, these numbers 1 through 6, 7 through 12, so it's like, that is wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
an idea I had, and I didn't know, how do I get this to these people?
Well, you brought up great suggestions that Lisa said as well, that citizens, if they want to let us know some suggestions, our team will look at how we can look at implementing it if it makes the best sense. And we had residents as well that shared those same concerns, and we were able to go get really low-cost signage and get the people to the fields. And it helps the tournament director out too, because they're stop answering the question, go left, right, straight, whatever. So thank you again.
Yeah, well, it's, like I said, I'm out there, almost every weekend when my grandson is playing, and I'm listening to what people have to say in the restroom, in the concession line, up in the stands, you can hear just, okay, you write this down and remember this. I can take this now to where I'm at, and we can see if we can work on it. So I'm your eyes and ears.
Thank you.
At least at the Little League complex.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I've got a question if maybe we could ask for something for our next meeting is, I know that it's been brought up multiple times by citizen communication and by people on the board of the restrooms, and I know how hard it is. I don't know firsthand, but I know y'all have told us how hard it is to keep a public restroom that's, can't be locked up and everybody has access to, clean and supplied. But, I know as y'all go to these conferences and kind of learn best practices and talk to vendors there, could y'all maybe let us know at a future meeting of, what are the best practices? What are other communities doing as far as being able to keep soap and paper towel or a hand dryer and toilet paper in a restroom? Because I know that those are hard things to, keep, but, if we're going to provide these restroom facilities, especially like the new one at Ethel Lee Tracy, how are we going to make sure that there's toilet paper and working sinks and, soap in there for them? So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Will do.
And I'm curious now when you said about, you're looking at gate fees and that kind of thing, but as you sitting here, I'm thinking with regard to fees, and again, I'm not, is there such a thing as a dedicated fee just for maintenance of restrooms during a tournament period? I mean, a straight up line item, I don't know what you charge for tournament fees, but a straight up fee that I'm sure a tournament would be willing to pay, knowing that the restrooms are gonna be manned and cleaned, for the duration, whatever the time during that tournament.
That's an idea.
It's just a cleaning, I mean, it's a maintenance, restroom maintenance cleaning fee for that.
Or you said a deposit that they have to pay, and if they're not taking, having their athletes take care of it, is that what you mean by a deposit? So
Yes,
then
that-
at the end, if they haven't taken care of, cleaned up their trash and cleaned up, then they don't get that deposit
Or
back?
forfeit the tournament, cancellation of
Oh,
any
okay,
sort.
okay.
Those are
I was
also
thinking
alternatives.
Like a facilities deposit.
Damage.
Right, damage deposit,
Okay.
yes.
Damaging, like if
Like-
they're using the restroom as monkey bars or whatever, and they're pulling things off the wall, or they're taking baseball bats and breaking those dryers and paper towel dispensers, that would be that damage deposit.
Well, and can I just ask a quick question too, because I don't know much about this. So the different tournaments, they're paying, so you said Little League doesn't charge, or these different, you mentioned swing, travel teams, Little League, they're all paying to use the fields equally?
Correct. So Little League, VYSO, South Texas softball, same thing with college, and same thing with VSID. They pay contractual fees at a set rate for the year, for season. For tournaments that come in, once they pay the deposit and we get them scheduled for the fields, it's a per field usage. So right now, the rental fee is $75 per field per day. So on a weekend, you can get anywhere, if they were using, 10 fields at that, it's $1,500 a weekend that's coming in. And so with our master fee plan, we've approached council to raise that by $25 per field to try to get $100 per field. As well as those tournaments, like Commissioner File mentioned, that a tournament director can collect a gate fee of $3 to $7 a person, or a weekend pass for $12. That's very common in the industry to do it. we could look at that as either the city taking that over and telling tournament directors that we're going to staff and man and collect those fees. We probably will lose tournaments, or we'll take a percentage of it of, $100 or $200 for the weekend or a day of a weekend and come up with a fee that makes sense to look like, because that's how a tournament makes money too, for trophies, awards, and other things, is that gate fee too. So it's a touchy subject, but we could still get a small percentage of it. As well as the scoreboards that we have, these new ones that are coming in, they'll come with a spot that we can come up with a system or a fee to get sponsorship or advertisement from local businesses, that then we can take those fees as well and turn them into capital improvements at the complex.
Well, yeah, all good ideas and suggestions, but we definitely, this has been a reoccurring issue, something that, again, like Brian said, can you bring it back? Let's get some solutions. And
Absolutely.
I know it's a staffing issue, so there's a cost issue to it, but,
But if we can raise the rate on the charging, maybe we could staff it more,
and without
Need
losing,
that sports tourism director.
without losing tournaments.
We are ready.
So, but I know you guys, are well aware of it, so thank you, Commissioner, for bringing it up.
Yes,
And let's just keep talking about it and see what we can do for
Thank you.
solutions.
Thank you.
As far as like you were saying about the toilet paper and stuff, on those weekends, like Little League and swing and travel teams, there's usually a guy out there on a mule or whatever you want to call it, and he goes around and he pretty well keeps the paper towels and the toilet paper, clean, and he empties the trash cans all around. So there's one person out there doing all of that. So that's one good thing about that.
That's
So,
good.
but as far as
The bigger jobs.
the bigger jobs, like, oh, we only got one sink here, so, well, I can't go wash my hands here. I guess I'll just walk out. So that's one of the big things, is that all the sinks work.
I do think it leaves a good impression when you travel out of town or you go to other places and their facilities are nice, and we want that for Victoria, especially as the sports tourism is growing. Like, it's such a simple thing, but it's important. We want to have that good reputation that our facilities are clean, our facilities are taken care of, even in the simple, and making sure that everyone's doing their job to make sure that their young athletes are taken care of.
Yeah, shameless plug for our part-time and full-timers that are out there. Your work matters.
Yeah.
It really does matter. We do drive that home, and you certainly are right about making sure they're doing those, checks, and that we're visible. That's a key part. Just being visible can help deter some of that, the confidence that the residents or visitors that we have, come to our facility. So thank you for that. We certainly will take this as a notation and come back to the board with some solid progressive solutions, because we know there are lots of people that are doing it right. We are doing it right, but how can we continue to grow and get better in certain areas? So we'll keep it on the pulse and let our team know. Thank you for noticing. How about that? Thank you for noticing. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, any other, yes, sir.
I was involved with the gingerbread event
Yes.
at the community center, and I would like to commend the entire center staff for doing an excellent job. They were very helpful, courteous, but they could use more extension cords.
Yes. I wrote that down. Yes, we will, sir, especially for those internal events that we will provide those. I know for our external customers, that may not be a choice at this particular time, maybe something we rent out. I don't know. We also are looking for a community center supervisor to set that tone over there. We've had a number of different kind of milestones, things that we want to kind of tackle going there. But certainly, I agree, something that small. But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Anyone else have any topics they want to bring up at this time? Mr. John? All right. If that, then we need a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, sorry, the motion's passed. Of all those in favor of adjourning the meeting this night on January 13, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Those fields